You're ready to light up your scene, but there's one problem. Where do you start? Well, I like to take a Bob Ross approach. You see, Bob Ross would start by painting out the background, then the biggest items, and then fill out the rest of his art with finer detail. And I think this is an excellent approach when it comes to lighting our scenes. So we start from the biggest to the smallest. So what would be the biggest lights in an outdoor scene? Well, it doesn't get much bigger than the sky and the sun. And if we're talking about the sky and the sun, then in Unity, that means we're talking about the Skybox and Directional Light. If we get these right, everything else will fall into place. If we get these wrong, then no amount of detailed lighting is going to be able to save you. Now, for this tutorial, I'm using the Universal Render Pipeline, as well as Unity 6.3, and I'm using a sample scene out of the URP sample scenes that Unity provides. I'll put a link down below so you can download it yourself. The URP sample template is actually a really great resource for learning more about the Universal Render Pipeline and for practicing different lighting setups in a well-constructed scene. So let's dive in. Now, to get started, I want to cover the Skybox, our sky, because it provides quite a bit when it comes to lighting our overall scene. Now, in order to find the Skybox, you need to go to Window, Rendering, and then Lighting, and it'll pop up this little window right here. And we have a few different tabs here, and the Skybox likes to hide in Environment. And when you start off a scene, you will start off with a default Skybox. So a big question is, what does the Skybox contribute to our scene? Well, it contributes two main ways. In ambient lighting, so it provides a base level of illumination that fills in the shadows and lights where areas might not be directly hit by your light or even indirectly by light. To show this off, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the main light, and you can see it's still dark, but we still have this light tinted blue over our scene. And if I come into lighting, you can see it's matching this color. So if I change this and rebake it, black's probably not going to do anything great. You can see since I've set it to ambient color to be black, it's kind of coated us in a black setting. I'm going to go ahead and crank that back and rebake it. And you can see now that it's rebaked, it has put this light blue shade on everything. Now, the other way it contributes is through reflections. So it provides a basis for your reflections in your scene. Even though we can't see it, there is actually a reflection probe present in this scene that will help make metallic objects and shiny objects look more realistic. Now, obviously, in your scene, you'd want to add more reflection probes instead of just relying only on the Skybox, but it's important to note that the Skybox reflection probe is there and provides basic reflections. So let's dive into the details of the Skybox. So as I said before, it starts off with a default Skybox, but we can swap that out with a different Skybox material. I believe this one has one called Oasis, and you can see it has created this nice little sunset Skybox above us. And there's a few different settings for these Skyboxes. You can make one yourself if you go to Create, Material, and then if we select the material, go to the inspector, we can change this to Skybox. And we have a few different options: six-sided, cube map, panoramic, or procedural. We could just call this Skybox test. We could set the sky tint and then the ground. So think of this as a giant sphere that wraps around our entire scene. Now, that's not technically true. If you're doing something like six-sided, then it's actually a giant square, but it meshes so well it looks like a sphere. But the illusion it creates is the sky. And so if I took this material and dragged it in, you can see very easily it has generated a pretty nice looking skybox. If we wanted, we could change the color of the sky to whatever we want. That is a quick way of doing a skybox. I don't want to dive too much into it because there's so much we already have to cover in this tutorial, and I believe generating skyboxes in the different ways you can generate a skybox material is a video all on its own. So I'm going to go ahead and set it to the Oasis skybox, and let's see what happens if I hit generate lighting. Let's see if it changes anything. It is sampling some of the Skybox out, and it is generating a bit of a reddish tint from the sunset on. We still have that blue ambient light here. Now, if we only wanted the Skybox to reflect, we could also just switch the source to Skybox. And now that it's stopped baking, it is much, much brighter, but it is sampling all of the sky and then putting it into the ambient lighting in our scene. And we do have an intensity multiplier if we want to reduce the intensity of this ambient light. Now that it has finished generating the light, it's a much darker just by lowering the intensity. So if your scene's ever too dark, play around with the intensity multiplier and you might get the results that you're looking for. You do have these other options. You have gradient. So maybe you want the sky, equator, and ground to look a little different, or maybe you want to have more of a blue influence, even though it's reflecting a bit orange in the sky. This is where your artistic decision comes into this. So I'm going to go ahead and bake this and see how it looks. And now we have more of a kind of nighttime scene taking place. And you can play around with these gradient colors to get the exact lighting and mood that you're going for. Now, you do also have color. It's just one solid color, but I do like gradient the most just because it gives you a little more variety in how you are painting out your scene with your light. Now, one thing I want to mention here is it does say sun source. So the sun source is going to be whatever your directional light is. And if you don't place anything here, it's going to be whatever directional light is in your scene and has the most effect on everything. But it is best practice to set it here. So I'm going to go ahead and set it there. We do have a few environment reflection settings. You can increase the resolution, but obviously that is going to increase the size of your bake. We have an intensity multiplier. And so a setting of 1 is going to give you physically accurate results. And you can see it kind of brightened up the reflections here. And if I reduce it, it's kind of dimming it out a bit. It's not as reflective as it used to be. We also have bounces. So how many bounces is it going to generate, or how many bounces is it going to use when generating the data for the reflection probe? So if we only have a value of 1 and we had a mirror in the scene, then that mirror will only appear black because the light will be bouncing off once and that's it. And for a mirror to take effect, you need at least 2 bounces. Now, you could increase this more. Now, you can increase the number of bounces and it might improve your reflections, but typically 2 is enough here. The next thing we need to talk about is the sun in our scene, or in this case, the directional light, or it's named here the main light. So we can see I have turned it back on and we have a few different modes here to kick things off. We have real-time, mixed, and baked. Now, real-time lighting is going to allow you to have shadows that move dynamically. So if I grab one of these trees, and if I move it around, we should be able to see the shadow of that tree moving. And a problem with this is real-time lighting is very, very expensive because it has to do all those calculations in real time. Then we have baked. And what baked does is when we hit generate lighting, it is going to create what is called a shadow map. And so it will pre-calculate all the lighting in the scene and then lay over those shadows onto the textures in the scene. Now, this is obviously very performant because we've already done all the calculations and we don't have to keep doing it. But the problem with that is we won't be able to have dynamic objects moving around in the scene and producing shadows. So I've set the directional light to baked. And so now if I grab this tree and I move it around, you can see no shadows are changing on the ground. It's baked in. It can't move dynamically. And so we do have a third option for our directional light, which is going to be mixed. So what this will do is it will bake the shadows for any object that is labeled static, but any dynamic objects, it will still produce real-time shadows. And so this gives you a balance between performance and quality. And typically is a pretty good option unless you need the most performance, or if you're designing a game and you don't mind if it costs a lot of computing power. So I'm going to set this to mixed and then start generating it just so we can see the difference. So with mixed lighting, it looks very similar to what we had with real-time lighting. And you can see as the leaves are moving, we still have some dynamic shadows going on there, but the static objects are all baked in. So we get to save a little in performance. And just as a quick aside, if you have found this useful or interesting at all, please consider giving me a like. Moving on with our directional light, we do have different options for our mission. So we could go with color, and a good option is to always kind of match what your Skybox is doing, so it kind of complements your sky. But you could also go with filter and temperature. So we can match the color, but we can also use filter and temperature to either have a scene that feels a little more cool, so if you're going for like a nighttime feel, or if you want it a little warmer, like the sunset, we can turn it up there. And I do kind of like filter and temperature more, but this is kind of a preference if you prefer one over the other. And if I am using this, I typically don't want to play with the color in this. I like to leave it white and just mess with the temperature. But again, this is like painting. You get to play around with these options and get to a point where it feels right to you. We also have options for intensity. So this is going to control how bright your light is. And even smaller numbers here tend to make the scene quite bright. So you want to gradually increase this to see what is right for you. And finally, we have the indirect multiplier. Unlike ambient light, where it kind of has a flat color of light that is laid on top of the entire scene, this is actually simulating light bouncing around in your scene. So you definitely want to have it more than 1 or 0, because if you set it to 0, it's just going to exclude indirect lighting altogether, and your scene's going to look a little weird. So currently right now, I have it set to no indirect bouncing, and it looks kind of flat. But let's see if I increase it to 2, what it generates. All right, and now that it is done baking, you can see that the indirect bounces have added a little more light here, and it looks a little more softer, a little more detailed, a little more natural. So if you ever do need to brighten up your scene, consider either increasing the intensity a little bit, or if you like the overall color at the highest setting of your intensity, maybe it's 1 and you want something like indoors to be a little brighter, you can always just increase the indirect multiplier. It will increase your bake time because, well, you're simulating a bunch of light rays bouncing around more than once, but it will increase the lighting inside areas that are not under your direct light. Other things to consider, you have a culling mask, so maybe you have something like the player and you don't want their shadow to appear. You could create their own layer and just ignore it. Let's see, if I hit nothing, you can see here the direct light is no longer affecting anything. I'm going to say everything, so now it is affecting everything. And then we have different shadow types. So for shadows, if you want it to look more natural, soft shadows is going to be your best, but it is going to cost the most in both either storing when we're baking or in the real-time calculation. We have hard shadows, so it'll look a little jagged, but if you're using mobile, this will work just fine for you. And then you can always go with no shadows if shadows aren't important in your scene. We can also play with things like the strength. So if you want it to have a little more opacity to it, you can reduce the strength of the shadow. And we do have different biases that we can play with as well. This can help when you're having problems with things like light leaking or the shadow is Peter Panning. So usually it defaults to whatever you have it set to in the render pipeline asset that you have, but you can also do custom here and play around with it and see what effects it has. Now, another thing I want to mention is your directional light. The angle does matter. You can actually change the angle in which your sun is hitting. So you want to make sure that is matching up with your scene, because if I rotated it this way, it looks like the sun's setting over there. Makes no sense that the directional light is coming over from here. So always match up what your Skybox is doing just so it looks right. And overall, yeah, just make sure you play around in scenes like this and kind of get a feel for it. Instead of having a daytime scene, you could try making it a nighttime scene. So let's see, I can grab my other Skybox that I made into a weird green color. I'll go ahead and switch it to kind of a darker blue, and I'm not crazy about the sun being there, so let's just go ahead and get rid of that. And then I could change these gradients to a darker color, or actually I could just lower the intensity on them. And that would be pretty good for our ambient lighting. And then for our direct light, let's change it to more of a cool temperature and maybe reduce its intensity to 0.5. Let's bake it and see if I have successfully turned this into a nighttime scene. All right, it's finished baking. It is much darker, probably a little too dark. I might want to increase the main light to 1. Maybe 0.5 was a little too ambitious. So it is a little better, but the dark areas are still too dark. So you know what I can do is increase the indirect multiplier and see if that brightens it up just a little bit. You can see these shadows have brightened up a little bit. And so this is the beginning of learning how to do lighting correctly with your ambient light and your directional light. It is a lot of playing around with different settings and seeing what feels right and seeing if you can swap a daytime scene to a nighttime scene. Like this Skybox, still a little too bright. I think I have some fog going on in the background that was already set up in the scene, but ultimately it went from daytime to nighttime. Now, if you found this tutorial useful, again, consider giving me a like, maybe check out my Patreon. And to my patrons, speaking of which, thank you so much. And I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.